Hi, I'm Tim Steamson, and this is Owen Bolig.
Hello.
Many of you will know Owen from Pianobook from his scripting work on incredible instruments like Portals, In the Weeds, and Hunter Rogerson's Hearth and Hollow. Owen is extraordinarily talented. He's working on so many projects that I don't think he ever sleeps, and he's just one of the nicest, most encouraging people that you'll ever meet. So a while ago, I made a Kontakt Script Generator, and Owen had some brilliant ideas on how to make it more streamlined, how to make it faster and easier to use as well. And he also suggested a project of his own to help you out as well. So there are two things in this video: a brand new Kontakt Script Generator for people still getting started with scripting, and a detailed annotated Kontakt playground to help those wanting to go deeper into scripting. It's been a while since I made the original Kontakt Script Generator sheet, and it's been great to see people using it to create their own instruments and GUIs. But it seemed like the sheet could be better, so here's the new version. Big thanks again to Owen for the redesign ideas. So I'm going to show you how the new script generator works and build an instrument as I do it as well. I borrowed some of JoJo's toys to create this very serious virtual instrument called Squeaky Toys of Doom, which I put together especially for this demo. It's got 4 toys: Dino, Squirrel, Otis, and Jafar. So let's take a look at how we'd build this instrument in the new Kontakt Script Generator. Here's a resources page. So this page links to free online tools to help you design your wallpapers, logos, knobs and sliders and buttons. And I've included some templates in those links to help you get started on Canva. And I've just put some links from Pianobook as well that are pretty helpful in terms of actually building an instrument and doing that sort of stuff. So I've already built my wallpaper in Photoshop, and I've used WebKnobMan to create a knob for the controls too. So let's go to the images tab and get them set up. So this is the images tab. So first of all, create a name for your instrument and put your name. All right, so let's do the wallpaper and logo first. We're going to add the wallpaper. So the file name is going to be toys wallpaper. Now you don't need to include if it's PNG or JPEG, because what this does is it creates the text file that we need to include in the resources container. Next, we need the wallpaper width and height and the number of animations. So you'll see that this errors box keeps on changing. Just ignore it until you get to the end. If you've done anything wrong, like say if you put a height in which is too big for Kontakt, it'll tell you, and then you can go back and change it. Okay, let's just do the rest of the images, then we'll do all the text documents at the same time. So let's do the logo. And I'm only using one knob for this project to keep it nice and simple. Now, if you wanted to add anything like buttons like that, you just do the same process, but just select them different in this side. Now we've got all our images loaded up. Let's create a resource container and make these text files. Okay, so to create a resource container, we want to click Instrument Options, Create, and then we want to find our instrument folder, name it something like the same as the NKI, and click Save. This will come up. I want to click Yes, and currently we've got no images. So let's make some images. I've got all my images saved here, so I'm just going to put them into the pictures folder in the resource container we just created. And then we need to create a text file for each of these different images. So once you got your text editor, we need to copy this cell into the text editor. And then we need to save it as this is the file name. Okay, I'm just going to copy and paste that. And we'll do the same for the other 2 pictures. And I've just noted this is called something different to that. So we're going to correct that here. Okay, so now we've done this, we're going to go back and create another resources container, and it'll hopefully find all these different images. There we go. So now we've done that, we can start creating the GUI. So this is the tab where we create the script for all the effects controls. So for this instrument, we have a lot of controls that we want to make. We want an overall volume control, we want an attack and release control, we want controls for distortion, lo-fi, rotator, flare, phaser, delay, reverb, and we want pan, volume, close mic, and room mic for each of the 4 toys. Now I've split different mic positions and different articulations up into 16 groups. These all go through to 4 different buses, 1 bus for each toy. So we're going to need a lot of controls for this, and it's going to require a lot of scripting. In the old Kontakt Script Generator, we'd have to create a new tab for every time we wanted a new effects control. And that would take forever for something like this. But for this new version, we can create all the controls in this tab, which makes it a lot easier. So let's get started. First of all, we're going to create a volume control for the whole instrument. The control type we want is a knob. Let's give it a name. And then we can select which image we want to use from the Images tab. Now, when it comes to layout, there's a new tool to help you with that. If you click the options in this cell and click Replace Image, we can load in the wallpaper image into this cell. You might need to refresh the page for this to view properly. Okay, there we go. So let's resize that so it fits and we can see everything. Now, if we take this chart, copy it, paste it, and drag it over the top of our GUI, and then resize it so these black dots in the corners match the corners of our GUI. There we go. So these 3 dots should be in the corners, and this one should be around where the track header is. Okay, now when we add in the layout location, we're going to get a little marker showing us roughly where it's going to appear on the GUI. I'm going to resize this so it gives us a bit of a better view. Okay, there we go. All right, we don't need image width and image height because you can't resize knobs, but you can resize stuff like buttons. We want this to drag vertically. We don't want it invert direction, so when we turn the control up, we want the volume to go up as well. Now this is going to be at an instrument level because it's not an insert or a send. We don't have an FX slot, and we want to control all the groups. For the group selection, all you need to do is check the boxes of the groups that you want. Now we have 16 groups. So if you run out of groups here, you can click this little plus at the top and you get up to 40 groups that you can use. So we're going to check this box as well, and you can hide it if it gets annoying. The effect we want to target is the volume, and that's our only option. So just like the other sheet, if you select a parameter in here, it'll give you all the parameters that are available for attaching controls to. Just saves you from looking through the KSP manual the whole time. Let's put this back to volume. Okay, and we don't have any error messages. So there's our first control. Let's do the individual mic levels next. Now the good thing about this being in a grid is that we can just copy and paste any things which are similar. So let's do that now. Okay, so the way that I've got this set up is that group number 1 is the close mic of the long articulation, and group 9 is the close mic of the short articulation. And it continues like this the whole way through all the different groups. So let's change these so that they're the right ones. The good thing about this sheet is that we can copy and paste some of the elements of the controls which are similar. Let's do a few of these. That might be too many, but we can delete them. So let's input the groups. Okay, so these are all our extra ones we don't need. All right, so let's select the groups that we need. Okay, great. Not getting any errors, so that's all good. Okay, before we do any of the layout, I'm going to do the volume and the pan for each of the buses, and you'll see why in a second. So So this time we want to affect the buses, and it's going to be bus 1, bus 2, bus 3, and bus 4. These are going to affect volume, and these are going to affect pan. Okay, let's just do an attack and release knob and get them out of the way as well. Okay, I want to reorder these because I would like to have these 3 at the top and then the rest of these afterwards. So let's use this column. We'll have the buses next. And once you've typed something like this in, you can just click and drag the bottom right corner. It'll automatically number them for you. Go sort. Okay, there we go. So let's do the layout next. Now the reason I've left layout until now is because part of this is set out in a grid, and some of the controls share the same amount of pixels right or the same amount of pixels down. So let's use this one as an example. Let's figure out how far across all of the different toys need to be. Let's go for there for Jafar, there for Dino. That looks pretty good. Okay, that looks pretty evenly spread. So if you hit equals and then click on a cell you want to link, and then hit enter, this cell will be the same as this cell. And it'll turn grey so that you know it's a formula and not a value you've input. So let's do that for the rest of them. We want this to be this, this to be this, this to be this. Now, because I got these in the same order, I can just copy and paste them. Okay, so if we want to change this one, all the rest of these different controls will change at the same time. Let's figure out the height of each of these controls. That looks about right. Okay, so now let's do the same for each of these different sections. Okay, and because of that grid system, we figured that out pretty quickly. Okay, let's do these other effects. So first, distortion. Now this is an insert effect and it's in slot 1. So we want to use a knob, it's distortion. Let's leave this for a minute. We want to drag it vertically. We want more distortions, we turn it up. Okay, this is an insert effect. It's in slot 1 and we want it to affect all groups and buses. It's distortion and we want to affect the drive. Okay, there we go. Let's do the same for the other insert effects too. This is slot 2, I think. Now for this effect, we want to change it so that when we turn it up, it decreases because we want to affect the bit rate. So now when we turn this effect up, hopefully what's going to happen is bit rate turns down and gives us a bit more lo-fi crunch. Okay, I'm going to do the rest of these before you fall asleep. Okay, there we go. Let's do sends next. So our first send effect is the replica delay. It's in send slot 1. And we want to affect the send level itself. And we want to affect the time, the feedback, and the overall level itself. So let's do the send level first. It's a send. It's in slot 1. We want to affect all groups and buses. It's replica delay, which is here. Oops, even though it's replica delay, we want to affect the send level. Okay, let's do some cheeky copy and pasting. This time we want replica delay. And we want time and feedback. Cool, there we go. Let's do the same for reverb. Okay, there we go. All that remains is to try and find the right place for these controls on the layout, which we're going to do in sped up world. And there we go. We've got no errors. Everything looks good on the layout. Now there's one extra tab that I haven't used for this, and that's Dave's random round robins, which is in the extra tab. So any extra things are going to get added into here that don't quite fit on this page. Basically, if you want some random round robins, just enter the number of groups you have here and it will create the code for you as well. We don't want any, so we're going to leave it at 0. Okay, so in the old Kontakt Script Generator, this is a time when you need to get the template, you need to copy in all of the different bits of script into the right part of the template. And you can still do that if you really want to. The template lives on the images page, is here, and there it is pasted in, and the code for each section is here. However, you don't want to be copying and pasting the whole time, so I thought, why not just have one thing you can copy and paste, and that does the whole code for you. So this is the magic box, and if you copy this, and if you paste that into the KSP editor, it'll give you the whole script for your instrument, all laid out in order. Let's just go through it so you can see it. We've got instrument title, when this code was last updated, information for wallpaper and logo. We've got the init code for the attack and release, for all of the slider controls. We've got the layout section, the on note section, which is where if you have any random panning or random velocity or anything will go here, the control section, and that's it. So moment of truth, let's see if it all worked. Okay, so we got all the different knobs we wanted, but they're not quite in the right place. There's a workaround for this. Let's see if they do the right things. Yep. 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 Let's make a bit of a stereo spread with this. Yep. Cool. Let's just do one of them. Okay, so these all seem to be doing the right things, which is great. However, you might have noticed that they're in a kind of a funny place. So with the layout control, it's often quite difficult to figure out where each control is going to go depending on how big each of the knobs or sliders or buttons is. So on the layout page, there's a tiny little offset here. So we can see that we're a bit too far right and we're a bit too far down. So let's try and find out how much up and left we need to be. Let's try -15 for each. Now I've put another magic box here because it's just easier than going there the whole time. So let's copy the whole code, paste it in, and let's have a look. So we're almost there. I reckon maybe a little bit further left and a bit further up. Copy the code, paste it in. Okay, that's pretty much there. What I might do for the actual instrument is change some of these knobs for the close mics and the room mics, because I think if they were smaller, it might look a bit better. But that's pretty much it. So I'm going to link to 4 things in the description. 1 is going to be a blank copy of the Kontakt Script Generator for you to use to build your own instrument. 2 is going to be this copy of the Kontakt Script Generator that I've already populated, so you can have a look through it and see how I've done it. 3 is going to be this instrument once it's released on Pianobook, so you can have a look at it, have a play around with it. And 4 is going to be Owen's Kontakt Playground, which I'll let him introduce now.
Hello. So let's explain this instrument. So I made this instrument to be released alongside Tim's project to try to help with some moderate level Kontakt scripting techniques. And I made sure to give you the code and comment all throughout the code to make it a little bit easier to understand. The instrument is right here on the left. Sounds like this. It's like a low pass filter. And you can increase volume. like that. So if you want to look at the code, I recommend you go over here inside the resources folder and in the scripts, and you'll find this tab 1 text file. And we can see that right here. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing because, to be honest, it's pretty long. It's about 800 lines, and it would take forever for me to explain everything. So feel free to just check out all the comments I put in it. But I'll show you, like, for example, we have this command, like set control par string. And what it does is it sets the icon for the top left corner, which is this Pianobook symbol right up here. And you can see that it has icon right here, and that can actually be found in the pictures folder. You look for icon, and it's right there. And this icon image also has a text file. So my dogs are barking right now. So I guess I'll just go see what that's about. Okay, I am back. As I was saying, all the images in the pictures folder have text files with the same name as the image. So you can see right here, it has a bunch of data in here. For example, with this one, it doesn't have any different frames, any animation frames. But if you were to look at something like these knobs, we can find knob yellow, which looks like this. So it's a bunch of frames, you can see, for each frame of the knob. And it has a text file that says 100 frames of animation, while this image is just 0 frames of animation. So you can see that difference. But I won't go too far into that. But you can see that you just call the icon image and it sets it for that. Yeah, so there are a lot of things like that, like declaring constant variables. It shows you the difference between an integer and a real and a string. And here are examples of you calling these. Yeah, there are also parts that talk about creating arrays. Like this is an array of strings, while over here we're doing an array of integers. And there are just a lot of cool techniques in here that I use a lot in my coding. And you'll see there's this big chunk down here that's just a bunch of controls being created. And whenever I do something differently on a certain control, I put a comment next to it. For example, let's find something right here. I'm setting the X position, Y position, and width. And you'll notice I do that a lot on a bunch of these controls, but I don't put the comment on all of them just to kind of keep the code cleaner, because it already is a little bit messy, but I did the best I can to try to make it as comprehensible as possible. So once you are done with making all of the controls, and you'll make all of them in the init block, you'll jump down to the block after that, which is the persistence changed block. So in that block, you can see that it is executed after the init callback, or whenever a snapshot has been loaded. So these are for tasks that might be different depending on which snapshot is loaded. So for example, if you made a snapshot where the cutoff frequency was lower than another, you want this label over here to show that value upon load. So you're going to do it in the on persistence changed block. So there are things like that. After that, I've got the on note block, and this block is called whenever a note is pushed on your keyboard. And you'll see I use the message command a lot throughout the code. And this is for, let me move myself out of the way so you can see this. Oh, you can't even see it. Right here. Down here, I've got a little help box that shows you different commands that are called. And in this instance, if I push a key, I've set it up so that there's a message that pops out that shows what the event note and event velocity is. So if I do a lower note, you'll see right now it's 57, and then the velocity was 127. So now I'm going to hit a low note pretty softly. You'll see 48, 25, and then if I do a higher note at a higher velocity, it's 65, 127. Yeah, so those values are just really helpful. But right after that, I go through all of the commands for the UI controls. So these are just what happens whenever you trigger a certain control on the user interface. So I have things like the filter type right here, and it's a menu filter type, which is referring to the menu that displays the different filter types. So if I were to click one of these, it shows you in here what happens, and you'll see that there is this message that pops out. Like I said, I use that message prompt a lot to kind of help you understand what is happening when you hit a UI control. And all you have to do is look at the prompt at the very base of Kontakt. So you'll see there's a lot of stuff going on with a bunch of these controls. One that is really interesting is the XY position. And this doesn't do anything with the sound. It's literally just a visual to show you some of the customizable features in Kontakt. So you can use this XY control and move this little label around. You can make the height bigger. You can make the width smaller. You can change if the text is right oriented, center oriented, left oriented. You can change the text of labels over here. You can see that. And a lot of that is in this block right here on the UI control XY position. And like everywhere else, I have a bunch of comments explaining what I did there. So is there anything else? There's this little thing if you want to mess around with that. There's the chorus. Yeah, so have fun with this. I hope it's useful. Yeah, I don't know how to end it. Think about a cool transition. Okay, bye, Tim.
So there you go. There's so many things in there which are really useful and that I'm definitely going to be using when I next build an instrument as well, that Owen's described in loads of detail. It's just really good to see how he works through things and how he makes his ideas come to life. So thank you, Owen. Thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoy using these resources. Bye. Hello. Do we wake you? You awake now? I'm just doing a video. I'm making a video for people so they can understand how to use the thingy. Sorry for waking you up. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going.